international level. Romana, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Detlef, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm really pleased to see also from the NASA administrator's point of view that international efforts and collaboration in the area of planetary defense is really important. So I'll present a couple of points from the United Nations perspective and the perspective of the Office for Outer Space Affairs. We're based in Vienna. For those of you who don't know us, our core business is basically to promote international cooperation, and the exchange of information on nearest objects has been a standing agenda item of on the committees on the peaceful use of outer space affairs. This is a brief overview of our work for those of you who are not familiar with it. So our main part is being secretariat to the committee, the UN Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space, one of the oldest committees in the UN system that deals exclusively with peaceful uses, but also addresses broader issues of safety, security, and sustainability of space activities. We have a more technical part of our office, program on space application, that works on particularly with developing countries on trainings and capacity building activities. We have a UN Spider program. My colleague is here who will be presenting on Thursday the aspect on emergency response. So this is a platform that connects space society, space with civil emergency response societies. And then obviously one part of our work is also planetary defense related. So we serve as the Secretariat to Space Mission Planning Advisory Group, and we work with the International Asteroid Warning Network. These are the three main pillars of our activities. As I said, we're the capacity builder, organizing a lot of workshops and training, particularly in developing countries, non-spacefaring countries. We're the global facilitator in terms of facilitating the international policy dialogue within the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. And we also act as a gateway to space in the UN system. So we have a very unique mandate in that regard. Why the connection with the United Nations and planetary defense? So given the global consequences of a NEO impact and the resources required to prevent a collision, we have been working actively on this issue within the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. And obviously this area touches upon an area crucial to ensuring human security. So hence the United Nations continues to facilitate the processes that strengthen international cooperation. A bit of a history. We have at present two very important entities at the international level, I1 and SamePage, that basically stem from recommendations that were developed by Action Team 14 on nearest objects. And all of this results out of the global conference that was organized in 1999 in Vienna, Unispace 3 conference. That's a conference on exploration and peaceful use of outer space. Okay, yeah. So where are we at present? This chart gives you an overview of information flow in case there would be a credible threat. So as I said, we have two entities, I1 and SamePage. I1 would determine impact, time, location, severity, inform SamePage, and via our office, the United Nations member states. So SamePage and I1 are quite established at the, very established at the level of political decision makers. That means that they regularly give annual briefings to the scientific and technical subcommittee of the Committee on the Peaceful Uses of Outer Space. The other committee, the subcommittee, is the legal subcommittee. We also maintain a documents database. So if you go to our webpage at unoosa.org, under topics, our work, nearest objects, we have these 3 blocks of information, and we also have a database that includes all the documents that were issued as information to our member states. The committee has at present 92 member states that basically inform them on the progress made by I1 and SamePage. Connected to planetary defense is also an agenda item called general exchange of views on potential legal models for activities in exploration, exploitation, and utilization of space resources. That's a relatively new agenda item in the legal subcommittee of the main committee. And it has been a praxis in the committee that it always follows the development. So basically this was, after, for example, US Congress passed the act on mining the resources, and then some other countries followed, for example, like Luxembourg. So this agenda item is quite relevant because it ensures that a broad debate is held at the level of the United Nations among member states, but it also addresses issues of greater understanding among states of the principles set out in the Outer Space Treaty, because the committee and its two subcommittees have been instrumental in developing the legal regime for activities in outer space, and basically with this kind of agenda setting, it makes sure that member states continue to exchange information. It's also a very important transparency and confidence building measure as such in the United Nations. So related to that, the same page in 2016 decided to establish an ad hoc working group on legal issues. This ad hoc working group was mandated to review and assess legal issues relevant to the execution of neo-deflection missions, both for test purposes and in an emergency situation. Our colleagues will be presenting this on Thursday. The same page ad hoc working group came up with initial findings, with an initial report, and the findings will be presented on Thursday under the session that deals with issues that affect or are related to decision making. So where do we stand now in terms of political agenda within the committee? Oh, that's yellow. Okay, good. So we are, as I said, planetary defense-related efforts and exchange of information on near-Earth objects and the issue of strengthening international collaboration in this area stems from Unispace 3 in 1999. We had last year marked 50 years of the first United Nations conference on the peaceful use and exploration of outer space, Unispace 1. And that was marked as an event, Unispace Plus 50. As I said, the planetary defense related issues and exchange of information on near-Earth objects is an ongoing effort. And the goal is obviously to ensure that all countries, in particular developing countries, nations with limited capacity to monitor, predict, and mitigate a NEO impact are aware of potential risks, and to ensure effectiveness of emergency response and the subsequent disaster management. That's the language from the General Assembly resolution. Our committee every year adopts recommendations that are then put before the General Assembly, and this is sort of a standard paragraph every year that gives our office, but also the committee, the mandate for the activities for the next year. So as I said, the event has been quite well attended, a high-level event, and it set forth the future considerations of the space agenda at the level of policymakers. So member states decided that they will be developing Space 2030 agenda and implementation plan, and this agenda will address also issues that still need strengthening of international collaboration on methods that are also related, for example, to mechanisms that were established here, like IAA and same page, for example, on space weather or some other natural disasters. So member states are now looking at the areas where the gaps exist and how we can better address these gaps through Space 2030 agenda. And as I said, you know, the work you do here is very much related to also our UN-wide agendas on sustainable development, because it connects the work here also to one of the very important goals that is focused on resiliency, so building resilient societies. Our areas of cooperation with ION and Same Page are primarily three, so communication, dissemination of new-related information, and also we're working now on strengthening capacity building activities. That is, we would like to create further linkages between the work of ION and our UN Spider network. So UN Spider, as I said earlier, is the program that deals with emergency response and has a global network of regional support offices. So just to raise awareness among those communities that nearest objects could potentially pose a threat and how to prepare. In coordination with ION and Same Page, I just would like to give you a brief overview of these two entities. You have further information, more detailed information on their web pages, ion.net and samepage.net. ion.net is actually maintained by our host here, University of Maryland. ION is a virtual network linking together the institutions performing functions such as discovering, monitoring, and physically characterizing the potentially hazardous neopopulation, while Same Page is mandated to lay out the framework, timeline, and options for initiating and executing space mission response. I have 1 minute to go. So we have growing membership both in Same Page and ION. Same Page has at current 18 members and also observers here. ION has at present 15 signatories to its statement of intent. And as NASA Administrator pointed out earlier, we are looking at expanding this network because it's very important. They came up with first results. They were also reported to KUPOS member states. These are basically, this is the outline of the first results. The presentation will be also on the conference USB stick, so you can have some detailed information there too. Same Page also agreed on statement on asteroid orbit deflection demonstrations. They have agreed on criteria and thresholds for impact response actions, basically when the terrestrial preparedness should start. And they have also agreed on albedo values and distance to Earth when reporting very close flyby distances. So that's very important to speak common language when we address international audiences and also political decision makers. So you have been made available this brochure on nearest objects and planetary defense that we produced together with ION and Same Page for Unispace Plus 15 2018. And some other outreach articles. For example, this one was just as a follow-up to 2017 PDC in Tokyo. And last but not least, we have a General Assembly proclaimed International Asteroid Day that is marked annually on 30th of June. And with that, I thank you, and I open for questions.
Perfect. Thank you, Romana. We have time for 1 or 2 questions. There's one in the back. Speak up.
What would you say is one of the biggest immediate challenges in terms of the international cooperation? Is it merely the dissemination of information, or is it even agreeing upon what is disseminated? What would you say is the biggest focus that you're working on?
Well, maybe the biggest issue is when it comes to the, in case of a real threat, who would be the decision-making authority. So that's quite a politically sensitive issue. When the action team discussed the recommendations for an international response to potential nearest object threat, there was no consensus. The consensus was to leave this aspect out. So that's quite a politically sensitive issue because depending on the impact, right, or the probability of the impact. But as I pointed out earlier, this can affect the whole planet, and it's a question of human security. So in that sense, it would be the Security Council that would probably, have a session and discuss this. But at the moment, this is not this path of decision making is not being identified. But as I said, what is important is that the member states of the United Nations are aware of the ION and Same Page and the work they do. They are under, although they are not UN entities, they stem from the UN processes, and the information they share and the briefings they make are very important in terms of sort of a confidence building measure that this area is covered. And the second aspect that's important and that's work in progress is to really raise awareness, particularly among developing countries, about these two entities and also about this risk that can be posed by NEOs. So, yeah.
Right. Thank you very much. So we don't have time for more questions.